Minister, we are being advised that we're running short of time a little bit. So what are some of the other plans I guess you have, you were going to talk to me about?
Yeah, now we've created this framework and it has led to a series of other cascading plans. And I've talked before the population policy that we have published. Population is very, very important, ensuring that our families have the access to choice when it comes to the number of children. We of course
know how many people there are in the country now.
Yes, and we need to talk a little bit about the data producing system, which is so important, so that we know where we're going according to these plans, whether they're working or not. But we've published a population policy. It cascades, as I said, from stars to a degree, because it's telling us that population is not just a secondary variable. It's a primary underlying variable in development, because development and the issues that we face of poverty, hunger, education, health comes back to not being able to properly cater for a population that is growing beyond our ability to cater for it. And what we do is we get caught up.
What's our growth now, 3%?
It's 3%, doubling every 20 years,
wow.
You see.
That's got to be high. It is
one of the highest in the world.
Yeah.
So we can't even cater for the population that we have today properly, let alone this ever-expanding and exponentially increasing population. What it makes us do, it puts us into a situation of desperation all the time. We're always desperate for the next big project to keep sustaining the growth of the economy, to sustain the growth of the population. We need to stop and say we need to address the underlying variable, which is the growth itself. We need to have the number of children, individually and collectively as a nation, that we can properly cater for, so that each and every child is loved, fed, clothed, properly, have a job. That's where the population policy comes in, and it's completely voluntary, but we want to give choices to our families. They decide, they have the option so that they can manage the number of children they have. And we're saying, again, PNG MIA, please think wisely, have the number of children that you can properly cater to. At the same time, it'll help to slow down the population rate, allow the government to properly organize itself, so we can have enough schools, etc., etc. Population policy. The other one is the WASH policy, which is the water, sanitation, hygiene policy, which we've also published. Obviously, water is critical in terms of development, but we're also saying water is a strategic asset. It can be used to generate cheap and clean electricity. Mm-hmm. It can be used, for example, the question you were asking about, we can sell water into the dry Northern Australia. And provide the basis for an ongoing, forever, sustainable economy, because it's going to create value for them, create value for us. At the moment, the water is flowing into the ocean. There are many issues to be resolved before that can happen, of course. Environmental issues, landowners, and the actual cost itself of doing that. But we believe there's a basis, certainly going forward in the future, to develop an economy around that. The other policy, and I've got all these policies here, which I will table in Parliament in March, is the development cooperation policy. We're trying to say, listen, we've set up a planning framework, service delivery framework, M&E framework. These are the indicators that all captured in the MTDP. Everyone has to coordinate and work towards building one Papua New Guinea. There is too much noise, there's too much activity, there's too much lack of coordination with our development partners. There's people working in Alata district that I don't know what they're doing down there, and how do they come up with this to fix that particular health post and this one. It's not coordinated enough, it's very inefficient, and so in some cases it's undermining our sovereignty, as the Prime Minister has been saying, when we have technical advisors in many of our key positions that are reporting to subcontractors or reporting to foreign governments. Development cooperation policy says, please, MTDP is the plan of government, these are our priorities. You come in, we sit down, there's a structured approach, foreign affairs first, then you go to national planning, you understand the plans, we coordinate you, move on to Treasury for financing, get the particular detailed plans from all the sectoral agencies, and we work together. I mentioned the National Service Delivery Framework again and again because it's in the Act, and it's setting up the structure that our Prime Minister has spoken of: regional headquarters, provincial headquarters, district headquarters, local level government headquarters, zone headquarters, ward headquarters, and then village and family. We're just putting this basic spatial structure in place to cover Papua New Guinea, and then we're going to say that at each of these points, minimum services, so that when you are choosing to work in education, you want to work in a particular location, this is the skeleton structure, and you should be building in that structure. You don't go and start creating another structure. This is the government process. Support our procurement process system, work to our plans, don't create parallel systems, and we all know what is happening. So these series of plans have cascaded from once you set a proper planning framework and the underlying principles, it then enables you to develop these other policies. Now we need to develop, and that's what our good forest minister is working very hard on, getting the forestry, clear forestry policy coming up. A good fisheries minister is working hard on the fisheries policy. That's why he's been saying we need to bring 100% onshore processing of our tuna resources. Tuna and forestry are globally significant resources. As you were hearing yesterday, our forests are part of a bigger forestry that is the third largest rainforest in the world. Our fisheries is 15% in the world. Our biodiversity is 7 to 8% in the world. These are globally significant, and we need to start to properly look after them and create policies around them that, as I say, speak to a responsible, sustainable economy. The world will come in here, for example, with forest. If we say we're going to stop round log exports in totality, and we ask there's $100 billion US every year they're creating into a fund to support green initiatives, like RED, which is the reducing forest degradation and deforestation. We can tap into a lot of money by understanding how the world is moving and start to begin to create this new type of economy that's not based on chopping the forest, but it's based on appreciating it and preserving it and cultivating it, which is, again, in line with our cultural principles anyway. We knew the forest, how important it was to us. We have to be symbiotic. We live and work with the forest. We knew that the forest sustains us, not just directly like the Minister was saying about as a supermarket, but look, it produces the very air we breathe. And that is why I'm saying plans must recognize this, and it will then guide us to behave differently in terms of how we treat some of these strategic assets. But it is the subsequent policies that follow once you've got this clear guiding framework. So I think one of the legacies of our government, I hope, in this 5-year term, and led by a good Prime Minister, is to once and for all get this planning framework in place. We've got to understand that we are only here for a short time. We're only here for and we've got to set things up that live beyond. I've got to leave an Alatar district that is moved forward in my time, and I pass it on to the next person. We've got to leave a Papua New Guinea
that's likewise.
Stop repeating the mistakes that of previous governments, and make sure that we hand a Papua New Guinea on to our children that is not in a reduced state. We can't have a destroyed fly river system anymore. We can't have Angabunga rivers destroyed anymore. We can't leave a denuded landscape and forest and tuna gone and no more bêche de mer. This is very, very important to be recognised in the plans, John.
Minister, you need to be heard, and I just gave you this opportunity to at least say this out so that Papua New Guinea can at least appreciate some of the issues out there with planning and to hear it from you. We are running out of time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, John.
Minister for National Planning and Monitoring, Charles Abel. Before presenting the new Planning Act to Parliament, Mr. Abel will discuss a number of other related issues, the MTDP, or the Medium-Term Development Policy, the DCP, or the Development Corporate Policy, and also give us a true status on concerns of the country's cash flow situation. We look forward to that. This has been PNG Tonight. Thank you for watching. Good night.